Taking a shot. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to talk for like 3 or 4 minutes, and then I'm going to open the floor. I spoke with Haven about this. This is something that a lot of people raised as a concern to me after the last meeting. Last meeting, we got really hung up on doxing because I guess everybody's afraid of getting doxed right now. But let me talk. But doxing doesn't happen very often in our community. I'm going to clearly define what doxing is because a lot of people have a fear that people are going to manipulate this idea of what they think doxing is to their own means to get rid of people they do not like. I myself agree with the 3 people that raised these concerns with me. And then I want to talk about why steady is a bad idea, and I completely disagree with Dread and it'll never work. But I'm going to take a break after I talk to you guys about what doxing is. Okay? Cool. All right. Doxing is when somebody forcefully obtains your personal information via hacking, phishing, keylogging, or social engineering. Doxing is not someone distributing information that you gave them. And while that is a deplorable action, it is not a community-wide problem. If we were to sit here and have to mediate every time 2 people got in a personal argument, it would be a nightmare. It would be miserable. If somebody has hacked your Facebook account, sent you a phishing link or a keylogger on Skype, that is something where we as a community need to be like, no, that shouldn't happen. If you trusted the wrong person that you were yaffling with or whatever the hell you people do with your personal pictures, that really sucks. And if that person's distributing your pictures, you need to tell the command of the group that that person is in, that person's doing that. And that group should do something about it. And if they don't, and they just think it's a joke or whatever, it shows how childish that group is. Wyatt did this recently, and we told him that he needed to leave the fray or leave chaos. He left the fray. I'm in complete agreement that that kind of behavior shouldn't be happening, but I don't think it's a community matter. I think it's a personal matter between either the 2 people involved or the 2 groups involved. And it does need to stop, but the 2 groups or 2 people need to work that out themselves privately. If we involve the whole community in it when somebody's address or phone number or something like that isn't being distributed and it's just a picture of a person's face, that becomes a problem. However, groups need to realize that when they do this or a member of their group does this, it makes their whole group look bad. And it also causes an animosity between both groups. And these kind of situations need to be repaired between both groups quickly so that we can have a fun combat environment and it doesn't turn into personal attacks against each other constantly. People really shouldn't be distributing other people's pictures without their permission. However, be careful who you trust your pictures with, guys. It's happened to me. It's happened to most of us in this community. I hope everyone can agree with that it's a personal matter or a group to group matter. And hopefully the group to group or personal matter, people can realize that we're all adults now and that as adults, we need to stop acting like children and holding these grudges against each other based on hearsay or something that happened 10 years ago and things like that, or we're never going to progress as a community. Via my own means and Singe Drafts raid boards, I've determined that there's only about 150 unique people doing combat in our community. 4 years ago, that number was almost 10 times that much. So we really, really, really need to start thinking about this as a game and not a place where we can do personal politics, attacks on each other, and base-to-base warfare. This is a game, and it should be fun. We don't need to force people, like bully people out of the community, making fun of who they are in real life and things like that based on who they trusted, because that's going to eventually deteriorate the community and it's very toxic. Okay, that's all I had to say about that. Was I speaking too fast?
No, that was perfect.
No.
I'm just gonna say that I would think that was like 100% like good. That was perfect.
Yeah, that
I don't know much discussion even needs to be said about it.
Yeah, that's definitely so it's basically in summary, if someone illegally obtains your information and starts spreading shit, that's what we're going to consider doxing. Whereas, or what is doxing? Whereas if you give a picture of yourself to someone, then you guys have a fight and they start sending it out. Well, that's really shitty of them, but you kind of did the thing.
Yeah, and you can just contact their commanding officer and let them know.
Yeah, in all honesty, a responsible group will do something about it.
Right.
And I believe that every group in this whatever project we're doing, I think they're calling it Genesis because we have autism, but I think that every group here would agree that we don't want to condone the perpetuation of this kind of drama between other groups and things like that. I just want fun combat. That's what I'm here for. It's just fun combat. I've been on both sides of the fence about, okay, we need rules, we don't need rules, and things like that. I think that really covers it on the whole doxing end, and I can type up a document on like a good document on what clearly defines doxing and what clearly defines somebody being a jackass, and both are deplorable actions, like I said, but one is a lot worse than another because it's actually literally illegal.
Yeah, I mean, if you disperse private pictures with someone and they kind of fucked you over, it's like you said, it's really shitty, but you consensually gave that picture out. Like, for instance, like your Facebook shit is public if it's public. Anyone can access it.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be put on SL.
Here's a
But
question.
it doesn't.
For that stuff.
What if you were in like a Skype call with someone and they recorded it?
Without consent?
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't, it's a matter of knowing who to trust and who not to trust. And it can't fall on the whole community to tell you who to trust and who not to trust. And usually people have reputations in this community for a reason. So if you're talking to a person in a Skype call or sending them pictures and they've been known to do this in the past, or they know people that encourage this kind of behavior, it is a very good idea not to trust that person. We can't tell you who and who not to talk to, but like I said, people have reputations for a reason. It's and to those people that might be listening, if you want to repair your reputation, it's going to take a long time. You can't expect people to change their opinion of you overnight. But the best way to get that opinion of you swayed is to admit that you've done these things and that you've been a shithead in the past and you're trying to overcome it.
I just want to throw in there and saying that usually it's trying to admit you probably did something wrong and realize that. It's usually the hardest step, but after that point, it's pretty much the easiest. It'll become easier as it goes on.
All right, so we've pretty much beat the idea that doxing is bad. Everybody should know it at this point, and doxing will be treated with a permanent ban or a temporary ban. We will decide from all combat sims that do agree with this rule set.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So I think we need to move on to repercussions of copy botting armor, and
I think copy botting should just. Sorry, I didn't mean.
Copy botting honestly, I think is worse.
Yeah, copy botting just that. This is all stuff that goes back. I mean, one of the. I don't mean to jump in and like start.
No, you're fine. This is why we're here. If it gets to the point where too many people are interrupting each other, then I'll step in and be like, okay, let this person talk or that person talk.
I mean, we at the last meeting, I wasn't there, but to my understanding, that we pretty much arrived at don't break the terms of service, don't dox people, don't copy bot people's stuff, don't crash their sims, knock out their video cards and stuff. I think that all goes without saying, and that's a good base level. But what I'm more concerned with is exactly who determines whether or not someone has actually done this. Who's the fact?
Everybody in this channel.
Well, the thing is that a reasonable case needs to be presented that somebody has copy-botted something. Sam Hain, dude, can you switch to push to talk because your mic keeps queuing on when Proteus is talking for some reason.
Real quick to that, Proteus, you brought something up about the terms of service. I think that if there is someone who's violating terms of service, I think it would be best for the community if we tried to, within ourselves, told them, okay, stop that shit. Let me finish. Before just going and abuse reporting. I mean, basically, because yeah,
I agree.
Okay.
and I'm not talking about copybotting type stuff.
Okay.
I'm talking about when you mentioned like a Facebook picture, and I'd have to double check the terms of service. I could be
That's not a
completely wrong.
violation of the terms of service.
Oh, it's
If
not?
you're- okay, so the thing is that the terms of service imply that the information is forcefully obtained. That means somebody sent you a phishing link or something like
Oh,
that
okay,
through
well,
Second
then
Life.
I'm
Yeah.
Okay, so
Kobe.
terms of service, we can't use the terms of service as, you know, a rule book for the SLMC because we break the terms of service 20 new ways every single day.
Exactly
And it's just,
right.
SLMC is community sanctioned griefing, as not Haven, but Hadet put it so plainly and perfectly a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Like we send logs out to each other. That's against the terms of service. We grief the Sims just by shooting weapons. Like this game is not meant to shoot, you know, 200 meters second bullets, you know, 100 times a second.
Yeah.
Like we break the terms of service,
But it's
5 times
consensual.
a minute. So
yes, but the moment somebody like decides that they don't want to be shot anymore, even when they're in your sim, and you consider that they're in the sim walking around on damaged land, them consenting to be shot, it is actually, if you continue to shoot them, they can abuse report you for it. And if they get if you get abuse reported enough for it, if you get abuse reported enough for it, you can get temporarily banned for it. And that's why I'm so against abuse reporting.
Yeah, I think I agree with that as well. But that only puts a further onus on us to decide. You know, is it literally going to be this council of people is going to be the people who are the fact finders in every one of these situations?
Well, our idea of
to
it was to, you know, have the new Jessie admins be, you know, the final say in everything. Be the,
so I don't like the idea of centralizing power, and Croc and Dreadspike brought this up with me when I was speaking to them earlier in the week, because when you centralize power, and don't get me wrong, I like the new Jessie admins. I'm friends with most of the new Jessie admins. I've had my disputes with Kane in the past, but I consider him my friend, you know. But when you have power centralized and then power is stable, or somebody lets the power go to their head, it can be a problem. I think it's up to the community to catch these things when it's happening and report it to the people, like especially with copybotting, the people they know originally created the content. Like,
okay, so now that we've decided that all of these things are bad and what we're going to do to these people that are bad, what are we going to do when a group refuses to ban a person over personal bias?
That's the thing that we're really, really rough on, because
that's where we get our catch-22, because if we don't centralize power, then we allow for holdout groups. And if we do centralize power, then things get a lot more complicated.
Well, yeah, exactly. So you can do this without centralizing power, because as a community, we can be like, you're harboring this person that does these things, that is still doing these things. People that have done it in the past that have luckily gotten away before we finally decided to get together and be like, all right, we're tired of this shit happening. They have the opportunity to create a new reputation for themselves that doesn't involve the shit they've done in the past, But I think that we as a community, with people that are still copybotting people's stuff and trying to distribute it, I mean, I can use Jakube Soft Paws as an example, because I just recently caught them trying to give one of Zach's meshes to KPC, and KPC being like, we think they might have copybotted this. And then me and Azrai and Proteus taking a look at it and being like, it's the exact same model, but the smoothing groups are fucked up because they copybotted it, So, like, as a community, like, I can teach people how to catch these things because I've been catching people doing it for a really long time. But as a community, we need to be very adamant that, that this can't stand anymore, because without content creators, our community will die.
Yeah, no, I mean, when you're stealing people's content, copybotting people's stuff, and especially going around distributing it to people, hell, if you were a content creator and you made something for hire for a group, and they bought it from you, and you made it for them, and then you continue to go around and distribute that to other people, then that's still a level of copyright infringement. Like all of that.
Not necessarily. If you have someone make you something, You need to clearly say that I'm paying you for this for my group only. And you need to have some sort of digital contract that's signed for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's up to the individual mesher. That's not something that the SLMC needs to administrate. So
content leaks are a little bit different than content theft is the thing. Like Linden Labs needs to be held accountable for all the times the permission system has bugged on us, and every single group in this community has lost content to people. I think the people distributing leaked content are assholes, but I don't think they should be barred from the community. It just, every time they do it, it tarnishes their reputation.
Well, sometimes it's all that groups can resort to. If they don't have measures, and they rip something from TF3DM, sure, why not? And that'll catch the attention of.
Oh no, I'm talking about when like somebody acquires something and the asset server bugged and you drop it on the ground and it goes full perms or something like that. And then they start handing it out to everybody.
That is a big problem.
Honestly,
maybe we could raise a gyro article.
I hate to say it, that's just shit out of luck.
Yeah, I know it sucks. It sucks. Like I said, I don't consider that copy botting either. But you should assume that the group, if you do that to a group, they're going to be very angry and do something.
And don't encourage it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I mean,
there have been groups in the past that have encouraged this kind of behavior, put sleeper agents in other people's groups to wait for objects like this to arise and then take it and distribute it.
It's kind of like finding a wallet on the street. Yeah, you could take the money out of it and then return the wallet empty, but that kind of makes you a shit. So if someone's gear gets, open source, or if you get an item, like if let's say Hidet accidentally hands me, I don't know, some chaos thingy full perm. Theoretically, if I pass it out to people, I'm not breaking any rules because he gave it to me. He screwed up. But it sure makes me look like a giant asshole, which is bad. Of course, I would never do something like that, but that's kind of the concept of it.
Yeah. And unfortunately, because of the fact that we can't really police something like that happening as much as we can police copybot, that we can acknowledge that it's a bad thing, but I think we should move on.
I think at that point it would be up to the establishment or up to the sim owners to decide whether they want to allow that person into their sim or not.
Yeah, I agree. Go ahead.
Okay, so I realized last meeting I didn't talk very much, but I feel I should just because I was.
Do you have your microphone unmuted in OBS so people can hear what you're saying?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks.
Go ahead then.
So yeah, I do that a lot, but I only wanted to mention this because I had this very specific conversation with Dread Spike that kind of kicked like this whole let's clarify doxing thing off. And I didn't mention it in chat, but okay, I'll just get to the point. I think a lot of the issues regarding holdouts and stuff is just a complete lack of respect and transparency and trust among groups. I mean, okay, Chaos has been open about stuff, and we can say, oh, we've been open sourcing all day, but it's every group that doesn't really trust one another. When the information is presented and we give the evidence, very often instead of looking at the evidence for itself, it seems like we'll look at the messenger and be like, well, you have an agenda. We need to stop doing that. And I think when we stop doing that and we begin looking at things a lot more objectively and recording things very objectively, that we won't see those holdouts. We won't need to force if we trust one another and we're not going to lie to
Hang on, one thing that I feel like is really important to mention, there's probably a lot of new people. I know a whole lot of Silverhawk members are actually probably just getting in on this, and they're like the first time listening to any of this that's going on.
Well, a lot of them
anything that we are talking about right now this is only for things that have happened past last Sunday. Anything before that, we're not going to administrate at all because we're kind of going under the assumption that nobody is really 100% innocent.
Yeah, so, this is a community of hypocrites.
Yeah, exactly. So what we're saying right now is since last Sunday was the line that we drew where we are saying we're not doing this shit anymore.
Oh God, my screensaver.
So
sorry.
So yeah, just don't do this shit anymore. But if you send me logs or you send Hidet logs, you send anybody, any officers logs of people doing stuff from 2 months ago or a month ago, we will not administrate it because honestly, we just don't give a shit.
Well, can I interject on that real quick?
Yes.
One of the big things I really want to hit home when it comes to like, if let's say for instance, if someone breaks the cardinal sin, we don't need just
I gotta
chat
turn him
logs.
up.
I'm sorry, I'm in my car right now, so please.
It's all
bear with
good.
me. We need screenshots of the chat logs. We need things that we can prove without a doubt that so and so was being a shithead. And I just came in on you guys discussing about someone giving out gear and then that person giving out the gear to other people. Am I safe to assume that has to do with the pigeon?
No, that was just a general example. I wouldn't say
we just
anything
brought it
about
up. Yeah, it was a general thing.
I mean, that's been happening for years. That was not at all
there's
directed to
nothing
be
we can
an
do
attack
to
on you.
Straight bugs in Linden Labs
I'm
permission
not saying
system.
it's an attack on me, but what I would say is the only time I ever see it as an issue is if, let's say, you compare Sume or Chaos giving us their HUD, and then we just hand it out to everybody willy-nilly without even talking to them about it. If they give it to us for us to use, that's one thing. If you're drunk and you give it to somebody and tell them go do whatever the fuck you want with it, that's a different story. So it really comes down to terms and conditions.
It's still, I think in the case where someone's drunk, it still kind of comes down to the, hey, they probably didn't mean to give it to you, but so it's again, I don't know if you're here for the wallet analogy, but it's like someone gives you something without intending to. Yeah, they fucked up, but going and throwing it around is probably, yeah,
it's gonna make you look bad. I don't think that we can administrate that sort of situation though, because let's be honest, it's happened to my group. I mean, I accidentally hand people shit full perms all the time. Haven has most of everything I've made full perms.
We've stolen a baby and we flaunt it around.
Yeah. I mean, but that was funny.
That is now our new motto. We steal babies and flaunt it.
Yeah. But it's still one of those things where it makes the person that did it look bad, and they know that it's going to make them look bad. Like, we don't need to say, Dark's a good example of leaking gear. Dark's my friend, and I think he's a jackass every time he leaks people's gear. Yeah, and
I don't think he does it intentionally. I just don't think he knows how to fucking permission.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Permission bugs are a big problem, but there's nothing we can do about it because it's a problem with Second Life, where the asset server sometimes on that key was. So it's full perms now, All right, so back on topic though, because I think we pretty much touched that. Content theft is bad. Actually copybotting things is the thing that we're most worried about. And if you catch someone doing it, take screenshots of the original model. If you know the person that made it, have them show you the blend files. You can tell an object that was made for another game or for other games that someone made in Second Life just by the way that it.
Okay,
because
can
Second
we?
Life is efficient. Hang
Can
on,
we get somebody to write down these offenses in a note card? That way we can send it out, in a no modify note card and be like, hey guys, this is kind of official.
Why don't we just send it out as a Google Doc, like I've been doing with the Genesis project? That way, it can't be modified by anybody.
You have to load a whole other thing.
It's good to distribute it.
Do what you fucking want. I don't care.
Tyro, this is your job.
What fight mood?
All right, so let's get back on track. Looking around
Text and Drive Haven.
Last time, and I want to get I want to get so let's brush on the other two things that we decided were bad, and I don't think a lot of discussion needs to be had over this. Graphics crashing is bad. Don't do it. Sim crashing's bad. Don't do it. Everybody agree?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So another concern that Croc and Dreadspike and Keon and several other people have raised with me is community-wide rule sets don't work. I completely agree, and I will fight Dread tooth and nail about steady being not a good idea, because you cannot make a rule set that applies for every sim build. While I think steady is a good guideline, it cannot govern and dictate how combat happens in every single sim. Steady will be a good set way to balance things, but some sims support a faster kind of combat. Some sims support jetpack combat. Some sims don't. Some sims are objective based. Some sims
Honestly,
are run.
The best thing
ahead.
that works. The best thing that works is open-mindedness to criticism. So
Yeah.
far, it's been pretty open about it in AN, which has been a huge relief compared to AN's past behavior. Chaos as well, coercion in some, and actually recently, yeah, I can say they have been. They've been way more receptive to.
Oh yeah, Adonis has Tyro testing their armory and things like that, and has been
Yeah.
pretty receptive when Tyro finds a bug. And I would like to continue that because, like, as everybody knows, coercion and chaos's relationship in the past has been incredibly rocky, and this is a good step for progress on both sides. So I would like to basically say use common sense. Like, don't make something that fires 10-meter explosions at 1200 RPM. Like, I think everybody can agree that if you're told to stop using something like that, there's probably a good reason why, you know? And that should really be what it is. Look at other people's rule sets. There's some things that are just universally banned from all sims because they're ridiculous. And I don't think that it really needs to be discussed more than that. Like, I do think that really like subjective rule sets, like don't be an asshole and stuff like that rule, the problem is that everybody has a different interpretation of somebody being an asshole, and that can be a big problem because that means that every administrator has a different breaking point for somebody being an asshole to them. And so then there's an inconsistency in administration. Those things need to be clearly defined. Otherwise, and otherwise you're going to get fucked with when you ban somebody or something like that. And by all means, if you're paying for the sim and you want to ban somebody, ban them, but do realize that they're going to bother you when they're banned. And I mean, I'll bother you if you ban me. It's what I do. You know, I'm not changing my character based on that. But if I clearly did something really shitty, I know why I'm banned. I'm just going to heckle you about it afterwards. And I think everybody here does the same thing.
Well, that was something that we
not me.
That was something that we ran into with APG against AN, as we would shoot an ICBM into their sim, and then we'd get banned for it, and they'd shoot.
Was
like,
Raid the
10
one
back.
banning you?
Usually,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was there for that one. I kept
Yeah.
watching nukes into their sim, and then he banned me, and then he started getting really mad about it.
Anyways, all this shit is up to the individual establishment. So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it looks incredibly petty when someone does that, and I think that we can all agree on that. The good news is none of us have sims attached to each other's anymore. Let's keep it that way.
Actually, there is one.
I would
It's not
like
us.
to see another combat content that doesn't have militaries on it. A large.
I might
scale
do that
people
this
facility.
summer.
If you guys are down for it, I'd be happy to help out. Or at least be
My
involved in it,
issue
but I
is
don't
that
want to touch it.
homesteads have to be fixed first.
I agree.
My idea was I was going to buy a full sim and 8 homesteads, but if homesteads are behaving the way that they're currently behaving, it's a no-go. So I'm going to, I'm going to be contacting the Linden Labs at some point, and this would be an entirely independent project. It would not be a house for the Choss or anything like that. But we'll talk more about that later because that's not part of this meeting.
Have you guys discussed about New Jessie yet? About what's going on with them?
So Kane, I think.
I talked with Kane.
Yeah,
Kane basically said that
Go
he's
ahead.
rebuilding to mimic an old New Mexico build that he had a couple years ago. So that's why we're rebuilding, or they're rebuilding right now.
Yeah,
The
Kane's
best
My
military sim in
biggest
the
concern is
SLMC.
honestly is them bumping up to a full sim, because that sim's almost constantly full with new people and SLMCers. And while
go ahead. I told him that if he waits 3 months, like I will help him pay for a full sim, and I wholeheartedly mean that. I will start helping him pay for a full sim, and I don't expect admin powers. I just want a place for people to go where they can't ban each other, and a neutral party can administrate and mediate them, because I think that that's very important with the fact that we only have 150 unique people that are doing combat anymore. I was very against that a few weeks ago, but I sat down and I talked to Kane. I've talked to a lot of you guys privately and things like that, and I think that the community is actually trying to improve. Do I think it can improve? Not yet, but I'm starting to believe it. So
Well, it's going to come down to people's actual mentalities. I mean, we can sit here and talk good shit all we want. It's going to come down to actions from everybody.
Yeah.
And we don't need one or two groups being the turd in the punch bowl after these discussions are done with.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to get to that actually about New Jessie. Don't shit where you eat, guys, and tell your groups not to shit where they eat. Because I've seen people going to New Jessie just to pick on Lollycum or something like that, or find some lone wolf that they like fucking with to get a rise out of. And don't get me wrong, those people are funny to mess with. Just don't do it in New Jessie, guys. New Jessie should be a place for everybody to go and hang out and not get fucked with like that.
Except Ben Rusk.
Oh, I left Ben Rusk alone too. You can mess with them in the hub all you want, but don't sit outside the spawn while they're leaving it and blast them as they're leaving the spawn. And if someone's doing that to you, tell Billard, tell Tainted, tell Ness, tell Kane, any admin that's online.
That was happening this morning.
It's been happening all week, and then people are like, why did you put me on the timeout box, Adet? And I go, oh, well, because you were shooting into the spawn exits while people were leaving. And usually when people just get carried away, and when you say, hey, cut that out, they stop. But some people are like, no, fuck you. And then they're like, no, Adet's griefing me. And then they message an admin, and the admin ignores them because the admin's not there.
Anyways, I think we should move on to covering topics that, the new people might not have heard of. By new people, I mean people that have gotten a link today and, are just now hearing these meetings.
Go ahead.
For the groups that are just now, getting into these meetings, Silverhawk, we have decided that we were going to start advertising the SLMC by using other communities by example. So, does anybody have that make the SLMC great again note card that I sent out to everybody a while ago?
No.
Actually, can I please clarify? We're not here to advertise the SLMC. We want to advertise New Jessie as a
exactly, but the SLMC in we need to advertise our individual sims as well.
I mean, we recruited 2 people yesterday just from them popping into New Jessie.
Yeah,
That's
New
my
Jessie's
whole point
a place to recruit from. And the nice thing about New Jessie is Kane.
Us as a community, we need to advertise New Jessie as a
Yeah.
great place to shoot the fuck out of people, and then you get exposed to that community and you go, whoa, there's way more of this?
So I have a thing that I wear. I don't know if you guys see it. It's on my back, and it does lots of magical things. And every time I encounter a new avatar in a sim that has damage on, it catalogs them as a combatant.
And tells them if they're wearing dirty prims.
Yeah, it does a lot of fun things. But it also so the thing is that throughout the past 3 days when I've been in New Jessie, I've seen 100 new people that I've never cataloged in the past year. So New Jessie is the best place to do this kind of thing at.
Okay. So I never got to the point where, or the place where, we tell Silverhawk how we're going to start implementing this. So people from Silverhawk, if you take a look in the search, if you go to the places and type in combat, you will see that all of the SLMC sims have been marked with SLMC in brackets. This kind of tells everybody that, the SLMC is here. This is an SLMC sim. And, this is kind of what that is. And the second way to advertise the SLMC in general, and this is entirely optional, but I've recently started doing this. I started putting a landmark to New Jessie in all of my marketplace items. Yeah. I know Proc has a lot of items up in the marketplace. I've got 9, but, they sell. Hadet's got quite a few. But you could also list your stuff as, instead of LLCS damage, you could mark it as SLMC damage, which, isn't necessarily a damage type, but it definitely raises questions and directs them to a new community.
Because if they search the bracket, they're going to find all our sims. That's
exactly.
I gotta go through my stuff.
Yes, damage. You see Vice weapons. You see DCS weapons. So it needs to be you see SLMC weapons. You see SLMC sims.
Yeah. Another part of the marketing. Go ahead. What?
I'm sorry. I'm gonna do it to my store as well tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll start working on mine as well. You guys know how lazy I am about updating stuff. So another thing we're doing for marketing is Sila and I are working on a website. Some of you jumped the gun and joined the forums before I had them set up. Do not be upset if I deactivate and delete your forum accounts. When the forums are done and ready to be used, there will be a box that you can click in New Jessie that will register you for the forums. This
man.
keeps, yeah. This
Did you delete my first post?
I have not yet.
Fuck, don't do it.
Okay. This will prevent people from creating a bajillion spam accounts. It will prevent a lot of bad things from happening with the forums that have happened with other forums in the past. It will also remove anonymity, so people are accountable for the things that they post on the forums. I will have that set up sometime next week. Like I have this is my real life job and it's Sila's real life job. So we're working our real life jobs to do something for you guys in our off time. So just give us some time and we'll get it done.
We need pictures for the website.
Yes, we do.
Everything right now is a test image, and unless you want to look at pictures of laptops and pencils.
Yeah, we can use a bunch of stock photos. We should make
definitely
stock photos.
What's that? What's that guy's name? Old guy with the white hair.
Which one?
The one in all the stock photos.
I don't know. I should because I use his stock photos all the time. But yeah,
Harold.
if you guys have if you guys have images you want on the website, try to get good looking images, ones with lighting and shadows on. The resolution doesn't matter because I'm gonna chop them down when we put them on there to make the website load fast. If you have content you want to add to the website, just talk to Kane, me, or Sila. After the website's finished and the forums are set up, I will not be really managing the website much after that because, like I said, this is my day-to-day job, and I really don't want to do my day-to-day job on my days off. So we will find people to curate and monitor the website. After that, via recommendation from New Jessie, maybe forum voting and stuff, and maybe we'll get some articles and blog posts written every once in a while and interviews and crap like that.
Oh yeah, we're actually planning on bringing back a version of the Jessie War Journal back. So if any of you guys want to write about stuff that's going on in your respective groups or in the SLMC, write up a gigantic Word document, take some pictures, and we'll create a blog post section for you guys to be the new Metallico King.
Yeah.
Oria be good at the photographs, by the way.
Oria, yeah, for our end, Oria would be the best person photos.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else. Oh, so from a development standpoint with New Jessie, Dread will be releasing a bunch of new LBA tanks. People have been providing him with tank models. If you or your group would like to contribute to the New Jessie Public Armory, please contact Kane. Give him what you have, what you need to distribute or things like that. Let's try to get it to where that lone wolves get a taste of, the kind of like armories and things like that that they could have access to if they joined a group. If you need help getting any of these things made for your group, contact one of the people that's, distributing the stuff like that. We also made a new spawn system for New Jessie that hasn't been implemented yet, but will be once the sim build is finished. That works a lot better than the current one. It's not perfect, but it will try to spawn you in the least dangerous spot for you to spawn. Sometimes people will spawn on top of each other, but it is a lot less frequent than it was before. We've been testing it for 4 or 5 days now. We want to test it for another week and add a few more features to it.
Yeah, the spawning on top of each other, that could be like it's just, there needs to be like some form of way that one person just either teleport home or like and retry or just don't shoot
I
them
think
when they
both
come
people
out.
need to just be like, okay, well, you go out and get as far away from me as you can.
Like round the
that's what I
corner.
do. But yeah, try to let everybody, because right now with the current spawners, it kind of is not fun to spawn. And then, people stop using the spawners because they keep dying when they use them. And then people start firing into the spawn exits. It's just, we need to self-moderate, guys.
Yeah, no one's gonna baby you all the way through this.
Yeah.
Like, it's impossible.
I also want to talk to Kane about a thing that kicks the people that have been idling in the hub for too long out, because people that want to do combat try to get into the sim, and they try to get into the sim for hours on end.
We need all the animes. We need to remove anime now.
No anime. Anime is bad. Yeah. If people when the sim gets upgraded to a full sim, I don't really foresee needing to kick people out of the sim, but it's kind of one of those things where I already talked to Kane about moving the hub up to 2,000 meters. I think we touched this at the beginning of the meeting, so that when you look into the northeast corner of the sim, your graphics card doesn't go, oh boy, kimono avatars, and just fucking halt for a second.
That's not even just kimono avatars. You have to understand too. The hub has all the SLMC photos.
He took those out of it actually.
Huh?
He took all those picture frames out.
Okay, thank God.
I talked about it.
Did you really? You're gonna go in the wrong lane and turn? Really? This is the
Yeah, dude, I did that.
It's me. I'm cutting you off on purpose.
God damn it.
All right, back on topic, guys.
Right, get rid of the animes.
Yeah.
But Kimono Avatar is pretty efficient, actually.
No, they're just like all mesh avatars where they layer a bunch of crap on top of each other. I mean, they're efficient by comparison to like the aesthetic body or Maitreya, but they're still a mesh body.
All right,
Do we have a topic to get back on too, or?
I think we're almost done, honestly.
Well,
I think that. What's that? Go ahead.
We've covered the community-wide, unforgivable sins.
Yeah.
But then on the level of, and we've talked about sort of the plans going forward with the infrastructure of surrounding New Jessie and attracting people, but we haven't talked about, other than just allowing the sim owners to sort of be on that. There's going to be no universal rule sets. So
be right back. Fire fucking shit.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, your house is on fire. Okay. Well, let us all sit and pray to that Kobe doesn't die in a house. What the
yeah,
hell?
I don't even remember what I was going to ask anymore.
Yeah.
Find out next time on the next episode.
That's the meeting.
I'm sorry, stream. I realized that was very loud. It annoyed me, and I'll stop recording if anyone's loud ever again. I'm sorry, stream.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that this all kind of leaves us exactly where we already were.
So the whole point of this is to reiterate that we need to communicate with each other. That we need to stop instigating each other into these little petty pissing matches and things like that. Like the point of this is to get people to talk to each other. Like, yes, this is where we already were, but at the same time, we weren't all sitting in a Discord talking to each other. You know what I mean? Like being completely reasonable with each other, setting Kobe's house on fire so he leaves and stops interrupting people, you know?
My apartment's on fire.
Dude, get out of your apartment if it's on fire.
No, this is more important than it's house fire.
What?
Okay.
So is he okay?
He's fine.
I just got back. Oh.
Okay. His apartment's on fire.
He's fine. Yeah. He's fine, Hadet says as he smiles, rubbing his hands together.
Extra crispy.
Okay. So I agree with you, Proteus, that this should be stuff that we were doing already, and for some of us, it was things that we were doing already. But I think that, like, telling everyone that we are capable of communicating with each other like adults, like, yeah, we can still fuck with each other and insult each other, but we do need to take the fact that our community is much smaller more seriously and try not to intentionally get banned from each other's sims and things like that. On the reverse side of that, people need to be more open to a joke every once in a while. Not everything is so super serious, you know.
It's a joke, not a dick. Don't take it so hard.
Well, a lot of people have a hard time taking jokes.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but that's the way we all are.
Yeah. I think that, you know, a lot of times when you personally insult someone for so long, it does stop being a joke to them.
Yeah, 10 years.
Yeah. Like for a decade, you know, when you've been picking on the same guy for 10 years, it might not be so good anymore to keep fucking with him. But,
like saying I'm gay for like 2 years,
What?
But you are.
Oh yeah, Tyro's gay, by the way, guys. So if he's looking for a boyfriend, yeah, Tyro, you chose to be in chaos. I just want to point that out.
I think this is wrapped up.
Yeah, I think that it pretty much is too.
So
Because we need to check on Kobe's house and make sure that the fire department doesn't get there.
Also, just a quick update for you guys. All Hallows is going to be closed for a little bit because of estate management being a bit stupid. So, we're going to be closed for a little bit.
Do you need any help with something? Do you have some people on your EM list that you don't want on your EM list?
Well, it's more the fact of they didn't know fully that Adonis didn't deed the entire base that he built on his side of building to the land group, and they were trying to set up a 30-minute auto return,
And it made the whole base go away, right?
Yeah.
Adonis might be able to restore that to world for you. You might want to talk to him about it.
That's what I have been talking to him in IMs while I've been listening.
Yeah, so just try to figure out what time it was returned at, and then if Adonis can go
It
into
was
his
last night in the middle.
if he can go into his recent folder and then just right-click restore to world, as long as there weren't any no copy items in it, it should restore just fine. He should just filter for the past like 24 hours or 12 hours or something like that.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm actually kind of glad you guys are all talking this shit out instead of having a dick waving contest.
That's later.
Yeah.
Wait. I thought the dick waving contest came after the meeting.
It does.
Shut up! I'm better than
okay.
you.
Yeah.
I don't even lead chaos, and I'm better than you.
This is the part where coloring comes in. Also, Mirai, I need to exchange a few words with you when you get a chance.
I also want to reiterate to you guys that for diplomatic solutions, you need to like. It is very good for you to tell people like, if you had a problem with my group and it is non-combat related, please contact this person, not the first jackass you see on the sim or something like that. And I want to reiterate that I am not that person for chaos anymore. I came to mediate today because I wanted to clearly define doxing so that in the future people could not abuse what they thought was doxing and then get mad when things did not go their way. In fact, I may not be here next meeting unless I'm asked to mediate because Haven's moving or something like that. So if you want to, for example, if you want to contact somebody for chaos, it needs to be Ricky or Sarah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Proteus, you were saying something?
Oh yeah, I was just dropping that we are updating our shit. We've been getting some complaints about our frag grenades killing people through walls. We thought that there was sort of a rake, because there is a raycast function in them that mitigates that, but apparently doesn't prevent it entirely. So that's being changed, and our grenades and everything else is about to be a lot more normal.
Okay, yeah, because your grenades are like 20 meters wide right now. It's insane.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, noticed
sorry.
the last time you guys attacked our sim.
Whose
the
sim?
Auto turrets were shooting through the wall.
Whose auto turrets? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're gonna be fixing those too. The problem with the auto turrets is that some content creators who were working on those entire projects kept the assets for those to themselves and left the group. So the people who have access to it, they can't even change it or do anything. So we have to redo all of that from scratch.
I may begin like giving out some turrets that I made to everyone with scripts in them already, and then I will also box up the scripts separately for people to base their own personal turrets on. But the turrets that I release, the scripts in them will be no modify, so that people that don't have turrets, and there will be some strict limitations on them. So with Chaos's turrets, a lot of people don't seem to understand how our turrets work, and our turrets are fairly powerful, but there are some things that a lot of other people's turrets do that ours don't. Our bolter turrets are ridiculous, and they are getting fixed. They're getting our new bolt explosions added to them so they don't murder the crap out of you as easily. But our turrets have a lock-on time, They do not target you through objects, and they have to be facing you to target you. They cannot target you through a riot shield. They can't target you through a barricade. We have a turret that is designed specifically for each type of thing. So we have an anti-tank turret, we have an anti-infantry turret, and we have an anti-air turret. We don't have one turret that does all of these things because that's ridiculous, because then no one can get to these turrets by any means to destroy them, especially when a interceptor or something is placed next to them. If I had a turret that was shooting at tanks, infantry, and aircraft and locking onto them instantly, like some of you guys have,
we just throw down turrets.
people would screech at me all the time. I'm not trying to tell you guys how to make your stuff. I'm just saying that I will distribute our turret systems at some point in the near future so that you understand how we balanced ours. If you want to follow that balancing mechanism, that's up to you. I recommend it because it works. There are some problems with our turrets, mostly that a lot of people don't have the means to fight with them, and we put them in very clever places. We can also only place 3 turrets per generator.
It's almost like a rock, paper, scissors aesthetic, which is something that should kind of be kept in mind for balance across everything. I know we had touched on weapons a bit last time with people who are trying to have guns that, quote, do it all. Just earlier today, I saw a gun that was, shitting out probably about 1,000 RPM at least, and then they were also able to fire a stream of rockets probably about one every, maybe a little more than 3 seconds. And that's kind of like, well, if this is the only gun the person has and they need to have this gun to also fight tanks, okay, maybe that's why. But
yeah. And like I said, I don't want to dictate to everybody how to balance things, but sometimes as groups, we have a responsibility not to make combat not fun for other people. And I'm not saying that I haven't done that in the past or Chaos hasn't done that in the past. Like I said, we've abused our turrets. We've put them in very clever spaces so that they overlook most of the sim and things like that. If you catch somebody doing that from any group, contact whoever's running that group, whoever's OIC at the time that it's happening, and tell them, hey, this guy's being a jackass. And most of the time, the OIC will be like, oh, that guy is being a jackass, and tell them to stop. If the OIC tells you to fuck off, my recommendation is to just leave the sim, because it's clear that they don't want to do fun combat. They just want to feel like they're winning. You know what I mean?
That is something I have suggested to people for a long time. It's the same with, like, if you're gonna give everyone and their mother, a way to shit out 3 different AT rounds with their standard loadout, you might as well just say, oh, we don't want to do tank combat or armored combat here.
On that,
Right,
on
what
that
were you saying,
note,
Ryan?
I wanted to actually support what you were saying because even with, however people feel about Takoi, we had actually a number of raids on KPC where, aside from one person that I can't tell to fuck off, messing things up a little bit, even that, though, wasn't handled in an appropriate
Their name
way.
starts with AV.
I'm actually pretty
on
pretty
whose
happy about
side?
No, go ahead.
on our side, but
Yeah, go ahead.
well, actually on both sides. But there was because there, I'm gonna say it, there were a few times where Haven kind of did something a little. that he
Yeah,
shouldn't
it's
have.
Haven. He's a
But-
stupid idiot.
But the thing is, like, even with
I have to
that
deal with it
being an
nonstop.
issue, we still, a huge thing that helped was just going into the opposition's, like, Discord or TeamSpeak and just talking to them.
Yeah,
Just during the raid, having one person that just goes in and talks to them and is like, hey, if something happens, poke me, let me know. I'll try to get it fixed as quickly as
I
possible.
also want to kind of call out Silverhawks because we were actually yesterday getting ready to go attack them, and they left another sim and came to attack us. And
that's
it
cool.
was completely, it was just delightful. There were no problems. Everyone, they didn't really break any of our rules. They had a few questions during the fight, like, hey, I just saw someone do this. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's in the boost pack you get in the spawn does that. And they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But there were no problems, and everyone seemed to have a good time. So anyone who says that it's impossible for this community to just go attack each other and have a good time is wrong. Because
Yeah,
it
I
absolutely
completely agree
is.
with you. And I think that the thing that people need to understand is communication fixes most of the problems. Like, if you talk to each other when something bad happens, if you're talking to each other like normal human beings, or normal animal mans. I guess it depends on who's talking to who at the time. If you talk to each other, there's a good probability that a solution will happen where both sides are still having fun. Another thing is that we can't go, and I'm guilty of this too. We can't go into every situation with preconceptions about what happened the time before that, or years before that, or anything like that, because when you're stuck in the past, you can't progress any further. Like the whole point of this is so that the community doesn't stay stuck in the past of why of this happened before, so it's going to happen again. Well, it's only going to happen again when you create like a self-fulfilling prophecy like that.
Yes. Like, oh, we don't want to fight AN because 3 years ago AN came and they kicked my dog. It's like, well, that was 3 years ago. AN's a lot different now.
I think actually the best example of that would actually be Takoi, because I keep hearing from people like, oh, Takoi back in 2012 was doing this or that, and I'm like, aside from maybe 3 people, the whole group isn't the same people from then.
Yeah.
And if you're griefing us now based on something that happened in the past, then you're basically just making all of these new people that have nothing to do with it be like, oh, hey, everyone's just going to grief us. Why not just do it anyway?
Well, yeah. Well, and that was a situation that we encountered when we restarted Chaos back in 2018. Because everybody just kept treating us like we were Dark's Chaos. And then for a little while there, we were like, well, if you think I'm the devil, then I'm the devil. So we acted like assholes to everybody.
Yeah,
like it's like, if you're not going to give me a chance to do things right, then fuck you. I'm going to be the worst person that you can possibly think of.
That is basically our huge issue.
And what's happening? Go ahead. Let me actually finish real quick. What's happening is when you go into, when you treat a group the way that you think they're going to act and they haven't started acting that way yet, you're encouraging them to revert back to the way they used to be. All right, go ahead, Rob.
That's very much the issue that we have. Go on.
Yeah, go ahead.
It was also the same with Vox. When I became 2IC for Vox, I was consistently hearing stories of, oh, you guys are only gonna last like 3 weeks or stuff like that, and it's really discouraging. I mean, yeah, we've been closed for this amount of time, but that's just because we're trying our best to do it right. But while we're doing that, we are trying to be active with the gear we have. And I would say personally, we've been more active than when the original Vox has been around. And it's really disparaging to find out that, as much as you'd like to show that you guys are changing, no one believes you. And that really needs to stop in this community.
You're absolutely right, because there have been some people when, they're like, well, if you come and attack us and a certain person in your group is there, it's just going to turn into a grief fest, because they're going to go and start throwing mud at everything and just, kicking over the sandcastle that we're trying to build and have fun. And I try so hard to get past that, to the point where I've, if you have to start doing things like, okay, we're only going to raid these people to start with, only going to raid these people when these 2 people are here, because we know we can raid them successfully because of the lines of communications. Start small, and then as you guys kind of build a rapport with each other, you can build up and like, okay, we've dealt with, attacking group X before. They've dealt with us enough times that they know we're not going to, do crazy shit. So it's,
yeah. And the other thing is that if you have a member that causes problems with this specific group for one reason or another, it might be a good idea when you go to that group sim to tell that member that if they cannot control themselves, do not come. Just outright tell them, if you can't control yourself here, do not come to this place. I've had to do that with Dread in the past when we've gone places where he's just, at his wit's end about dealing with a specific group. I've had to tell other groups not to bring one specific person when they raid us, because that one specific person is always a problem. The big thing is, and my recommendation is, when you're having a problem with a specific person, you don't necessarily need to ban them outright. You should message them and ask them why they're doing that stupid thing. If they tell you to fuck off and won't talk to you reasonably, ask them to leave. If they keep showing up and doing it, and I've had to do this with a lot of people, tell them if they have a problem with your sim or your group, they're welcome not to come to your sim. because all they're doing is fucking it up for the rest of their group that want to come to your sim. And if they continue to be a problem, you can ban them or do what I do, which is lock them in place and auto return their prims and watch them like frantically try to figure out like how to do combat in your sim while stuck in place and not being able to res anything.
Yeah. If you're a person like that, or you have a person like that, if you get banned or asked to leave, take it as a hint that maybe you should change. What you shouldn't do is go and bring an alt with literally griefer weapons, go to their sim and start griefing them, because that just proves their point. And I have screenshots and logs of this happening for certain people in the community. It's like, okay, I know that's you. I just heard you on voice saying this.
Me, okay.
What?
No, I'm just joking.
Oh no, but it's like they banned you. Suddenly there's a griefer that shows up in there, and I mean, you know.
Yeah, it's obvious.
It's obvious either from that or physically. You have told me you commented on what you did when you were there on that account.
Yeah.
Who do you think is really winning there? You, because you're getting your little vindictive, you know, haha, I finally win, or them because you're just like, well, this is exactly proving our point. Why, you know, you're not able to act like a big person.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're pretty much wrapped up, and I think that the big thing with this meeting as opposed to last meeting, where last meeting was doxing, copy botting, and crashing are bad, is communication is good. Please communicate with each other. If you want to be being transparent's good too. If there's things, you know, if you have private things that go on in your group that you don't want people to know about, that's fine. That's your thing that you can do, but it's not a very good idea for getting people to trust you. If anybody here has any questions about Chaos's armory, particularly, we have an armory exchange program. That doesn't mean you need to give us access to your armory, but it goes a long way if you do, where one of your members can test our armory. Most of the groups here already have a member that does that. They can test our armory, figure out what works. If you find a bug, you will be rewarded. You'll be given something that, you know, you wouldn't normally have access to, like a God favor weapon or something like that, that you would normally have to unlock via, you know, whatever. Like we encourage people to find bugs. Deli's been testing our armory for a long time. Casey's been testing our armory for a long time. Moki Mock's been testing our armory for a long time. Wyatt used to be the guy for Coercion that did it. I don't know if Coercion wants to assign a new guy. Coercion doesn't seem to have a lot of disputes about what things in our armory do though. So I mean, it's kind of one of those things.
For all Hollow's sake, I'd be interested in doing that, Hadet.
Okay.
My
we
only
prefer standard enlisted, but I mean, if you're the one that wants to do it, that's fine.
I mean,
well,
my biggest...
it's due to the simple fact that most of my guys are extremely trigger happy, and I don't really have any restraint.
Okay, go ahead, Sumi.
Yeah, my biggest thing about when, you know, what other people's stuff does, honestly, is what I kind of just consider firefighting, where we'll be on a raid and they're like, oh, well, they're doing this, and it's like, no, the gun does not do that. Well, yes, it does, and then I can just sit there and like, no, I have like this when there was a combat continent. And I had access to AN's armory. And someone was like, oh, well, gun X is, you know, has secret munitions that summon Chuck Norris or something. And I'm just like, no, it just shoots bullets. Well, no, it doesn't. I've got it right here. I've tested it. I know what it does.
Yeah. The easiest way to alleviate issues like that is to just hand somebody the weapon and be like, okay, well, now you can test it.
Or the worst one is when I'm told, oh, Sume, you need to make this for KPC because AN has it or because Chaos has it. And to my response most often is just, I don't care. We're not AN or Chaos.
Well,
go ahead, Ryo.
The thing is, though, is I do know that in some instances, I have seen AN members using older versions of weapons.
Well, let's not
fixed,
get in.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Yeah.
Try to enforce people using the more up-to-date stuff in your groups, guys. Like,
literally,
because I get on the people about that.
I got a question. On the terms of communication, but what if there's like certain groups that just refuse to communicate? And
they'll be outcasts.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, they're basically signing a death warrant at that point.
Yeah, I don't want to see any group exclude themselves from this. I really went out of the way to make sure that Croc and Silverhawk's command staff realized that they were invited and their opinion was valid here earlier today. I don't want this to look like KPC coercion and AN calling the shots on the whole community. Especially with. Go ahead.
See, this is the thing. It's like, yeah, I admit my faults with communication with other groups hasn't been so pleasant. Only except for certain groups that haven't really done any bullshit against my group per se. But like I'm trying to fix and reform my group, and I realize that yes, communication is key within this community, but because of the past problems like with other groups, they just want to refuse to communicate. And yeah, I do somewhat care about the community and I want it to actually change for the better. And I've personally been trying to pull people outside of the community that might have an interest in the SLMC and try to make it bigger on my own time outside of my group. And it's just like, yeah, it's cool to do combat and everything, but I got to admit, the shit that's happened in the past, especially with my personal problems in the group, I lost members because I refused to communicate with certain people. That was a problem. Instead of me talking the problem out, I usually kind of got missile happy. And
well, I mean that happens. The important thing is you're here now trying to talk to us, so it's clear that you're making an effort to at least communicate with the whole community that you guys are here and you will hear them out. And there are going to be people that some of us just don't get along with. Not every people. There are people that just don't get along, and but as a community, we can put that aside and be like, okay, well, for the betterment of the community, we can come in here and have a conversation with each other without being in your own personal sim, to have your own personal God complex over as well. You can come in here and with other groups to help mediate it too. Like if there's a problem and you need somebody to sit there, I'm sure any person that's already in here can come and talk to you, sit in the middle of an argument or whatever, because some of us like to laugh at it either way.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Taro.
Okay, so I feel like just when you become an officer in a group, I almost feel as if like you're volunteering your time to do stupid, boring, annoying shit in favor of the rest of your group being able to not go through that and have some fun.
Yeah.
So there's just no reason to like have vendettas or like let your pride get in the way. Like just do it because everyone else will have fun for it. Even if nothing comes of it, like at least you put the effort in so someone else didn't have to.
Yeah. I also want to I've been telling a lot of younger people in the community this. I know that I'm older than a lot of you guys. Some of you guys I'm younger than, but most of us are around this. Most of the older people in the community are around the same year age bracket, with the exception of, very few people. Those of us that are in our 30s are getting close to 30. Kind of have a different take on the way that disagreements go than some of you guys that are younger than 25. And I'd like to reiterate this to you guys, that you can disagree with somebody without them being your mortal enemy. And a disagreement isn't necessarily a personal attack upon someone. Like, you can disagree with somebody and still be friends even. In fact, that's the mark of a good friend, to tell your friend they're wrong or they're being stupid, or just be like, no, I don't feel that way, because it means that you can openly talk to each other. But when you take a disagreement or someone proving you wrong about something as a personal attack against you, instead of just the fact that, you were wrong and you need to either re-educate yourself on the topic or, not talk out of your ass or any of those number of things, the best thing you can do is go, oh yeah, I was wrong, and be like, sorry about that, or something like that, as opposed to turning it into this little personal pissing match, because that's the mark of a weak person to take an argument that you've been proven wrong in and then use personal insults against the person after you already know you're wrong, to validate the fact that, you're embarrassed that you were wrong or something like that. Like, you can be wrong and still be, knowledgeable about something you were talking about. It just, not as knowledgeable as someone else, or, you just did something wrong. Like, you have to fucking understand that someone can disagree with you and they don't fucking hate you. They just disagree with you on something. It doesn't have to turn into this giant shit posting like awful nightmare of fray notices and crap like that. And I've told every member of my group that isn't an officer to leave the fray at this point because it's gotten so stupid between a lot of groups. It will not happen with our spawn group. And if it starts happening with our spawn group, whoever's sending the notices out will be ejected from the group. So I just want to reiterate, disagreements do not make people enemies. Usually they make them friends. Does anybody else have anything to add to that?
I disagree with that, Hedette.
Good. Well, fuck you.
Yeah. You're my enemy now.
Alright. Demoted.
I disagree with that, Tyro. Go eat a dick.
Yeah, you stand up to Tyro. He's a tyrant.
Yeah. I'm plotting to take over the group. I've been plotting for 3 years now to take over Chaos.
Yeah.
It's slowly happening.
Do we have anything else we really need to talk about, or are we good, guys?
Yeah, I want to get finish up my computer build.
I think we're good.
Alright.
Well, great.
Like, Dad gave me a free copy of Windows 7, so I want to finish putting my computer together now.
I can handle animes and some furries now. And aesthetic bodies.
We can sit around and talk and shit now that was that Kobe? Kobe, is your house okay? Oh, he's gone.
No.
Oh shit.
Oh fuck. He may have ripped his computer,
well,
man.
He's dead.
Everybody just hope that Kobe didn't die in a house fire, okay, guys? Because that would really suck.
That would suck.
As Adonis is laughing at Kobe, oh shit, my house is on fire. I just saw the text. All right. Cool. I think that went really well.
But my question: will he be well done or extra crispy?
I don't know.
Extra gay.
Knowing this community, he'd probably be extra salty.
Yeah.
Hey.
We're gonna finish it.
At least he died how he lived, like a fag.
God damn!
Jeez, Pyro.
Fucking crying.
Good
night, everybody.
We're all making jokes about his house being on fire.
What's up?
He'd want us to.
You guys heard that fire alarm going off, though.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
It sounded like a dorm room fire alarm, actually.
Well, he lives in an apartment, so it was
Oh.
like probably like an apartment complex wide fire alarm.
Yeah, I
probably
can confirm that is what they are. What they sound like.
It's probably like some old
Obnoxiously
lady fell
loud.
asleep with her cigarette in bed.
Yeah.
It happens more than people
If
think.
he heard an alarm and was like, "Oh, my apartment's on fire," I think he's fine.
You never know.
Well, he specifically said his apartment, not the apartment building.
Yeah.
So I wonder what he was doing.
I think his bed got lit on fire. As I hear correctly, he said something about his bed getting torched.
He's probably fine. Do you want me
alright.
to keep streaming like kind of the after hours of this, just in case people?
Yeah,
are interested?
yeah, for a little bit until people start fizzling out.
Okay.
Sounds fine to me.
All right,